Right to it. Hey, everybody.
Barry, just what happened on those final two plays, the third and fourth down, on the turnover on downs on the last drive?
Well, we got 3rd and 2 and knew we were, likely in a 2-down situation and called one of our base plays. And, probably in hindsight would like to probably keep pushing through the progression, a little bit. Had some guys on the, on the latter part of the progression, which is tough. We don't get to that part of the progression a lot. So that's not saying that was John not getting to that, but through the progression of it, we had some guys open on the perimeter, but they did a good job covering it up. And then on 4th down, we went to a call that we had really been practicing for 3 weeks now in that grouping, where Isaiah came in as tailback and put him isolation to the field and a little spacing concept to the boundary. And to be honest with you, you had guys open on both sides of the field, and just with the pressure and the way that they had adapted probably in the last part of the game about they knew we were getting rid of the ball quicker, and they did a nice job of they got incredible length on the perimeter, and you could tell that strategically that was something that was coached into them, an adjustment. You got to tip your hat to them in that regard. They just said, hey, we can't get there. Let's get big and get our hands up. And, we threw right in the line of sight, and they knocked the ball down. And, obviously that's, a disappointing way to end the game when you have a chance to, it's 3rd and 2, and to be able to keep the drive going. I think we all felt, based on what had happened previously, we're going to go win the game, especially when we blocked the extra point. We just didn't get it done right there in that situation.
With those being batted down, is that something you feel like was exclusive to what they're able to do personnel-wise up front, or is this something on film that you looked at and maybe need to correct on your end going into Northwestern?
I think it was probably unique to probably an adjustment they made during the game because of how quickly we were trying to get rid of the ball. And they do have incredible length at the end spot, and and John is it doesn't have incredible amount of height back there, but that has not been an issue. It's reared its head during the game a few times, and obviously it reared its head at a very inopportune time for us to not get a chance to get the ball off. But yeah, we got to do it. We got to do some things. I can do some things to help combat that a little bit, to help plaster that a little bit better and get hands down. That's a big point of emphasis in general when we do the quick game. But we got to do a good job of helping our guys with that.
What would you like to see out of John in the final game?
Well, I mean, I would like to see, obviously him go out on a high note, along with all their seniors and guys that have, whether they've been in the program for 1 year or been here for many years before I got here, or any of us as coaches got here, or guys that Coach B brought in through the transfer portal, or whatever that may be. Whoever's playing their last game, we want those guys to go out the right way in this stadium. And so I don't feel any different about John as I do the other players on the team, but obviously. John's given us a spark down the stretch. I thought he competed really hard the other day during the game against an incredibly good defense, and gave us a chance, put us in position to give us a chance to win. There's obviously, as always, there's some plays that you want back. And that's going to happen when you play, 75 plays against an opponent like that, put a lot of pressure on you. But we want him to go out on the right way with a W, and that's going to be a great challenge.
What have you seen out of Luke responding to, obviously, John getting to play here, Barry?
Yeah, I mean, that's never easy. And we talked at length about it last week. It's a very unusual circumstance. Luke had been finding his stride and playing his best football of the year, and it helped us win some games in critical fashion. And so I think he was feeling good about where things went, but he also is very smart and understands what we saw and what had happened with John, and understood that was just a tough decision. And sometimes you have to make tough decisions as a coaching staff, and we felt like it was the right one for that. We still feel that way, and he's been supportive of John, and I think he's been able to take it take a step backward, or take a step back, I should say, and evaluate, how he'd been playing, the things he'd doing well, and things that maybe he could improve on. And so we're really challenging him in that area, and I think he definitely took to that. He was ready to go last week. He was glued into the game plan, tuned into it, and obviously we felt great about him being ready to come in and help us win the game if needed.
Barry, not that one is better than the other, but how is it different calling a game for John than Luke as a play caller?
Well, I mean, there is some differences. Obviously, Luke's probably a little bit more on the athletic side, and there's a little bit some more things that you can do, in that regard. And then John's a little bit more of the quicker, decisive side that is, basically going to make it his decision, and he's going to make it the right decision. He's kind of one of those guys, and so there is a spectrum there. that I think we've learned pretty quickly. I have pretty quickly from a game planning and a game calling standpoint, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So that's not really a challenge for us at this moment, but John's like, hey, you know, he's very defined with me. Hey, I like this, I don't like this. Let this rip, you know, and let it call it, and I love it. Oh, I don't like it. You know, I like that feedback from him. He does a really nice job, and that's what you expect from an older guy. You know, I mean, he's been around, and he knows what he wants, and he's very clear to communicate that with me.
Nick Vedunzel has fallen into a pretty critical role here that we haven't seen a whole lot of, and what can we expect from him at running back?
Well, I love Nick. I mean, he's, you know, the first spring that I was here, based on the health situation of our backs, I can't remember what it was back then, honestly, but Nick got a lot of carries against that great defense, you know, that we had of all those guys that are playing in the NFL, you know, and then he did it again in the fall. He carried, because we were trying to protect maybe the guys that we perceived to be a little higher up on the depth chart. We gave him reps because he needed them, and it helped us function offensively. And he really earned my respect during that time because he was consistent, always did the right thing, ran hard. And when he went in the game the other day and I saw him go in there, it didn't even faze me, or I didn't even flinch about what I was calling, what I couldn't call, because I knew he could execute the things that he needed to be able to execute, and feel very confident in him being able to do that.
Just to be clear, when you guys decided to go to John last week, was it you knew it was going to be for the final two, or did the decision for him to go against Northwestern get made on Saturday?
Coach and I really didn't even talk about that. I mean, I think once we, decided that we were going to go with John, we fully expected him to compete and play at a high level and against Iowa, and then we really didn't talk about, the game after that so much, but I think we all felt like the hand that he had been playing and the way he had been playing, he was going to give us a chance to beat Iowa and give us a chance to beat Northwestern. And I thought the way he competed and the way he played certainly backed that up. Again, several plays we'd like back and different. It was a challenge. It was a different defense than we had seen the previous week, and I thought he handled it well for the most part. But I think he'll use that as an opportunity this week to grow. Even I know that sounds weird, a 6-year senior, but that was his first start here. On the road. Or his second start. But he's going to keep getting better and better, and hopefully he can play his best this Saturday.
Barry, you talked all the time about the razor edge, between winning and losing,
Yeah.
especially since you got here. But are you finding when you're trying to close out a game and you're trying to maybe get into victory formation, get a couple first downs or get another score, is it something different each time that you're kind of getting frustrated with not being able to do that? Is that part of the frustration? Hey, we've tried this, we've tried this, and it just hasn't happened for us? Or is there something you've known as a trend that this is not working?
Well, I'm having a hard time putting my finger on the question there. Honestly, could you kind of say that a different way?
It seems like when you're trying to close out a game, especially late, there's been issues with trying to get a couple first downs, get late scores. Is there trends that you've seen that you can work on or that you can get better with?
Yeah, always. Obviously, starting with me, as what could I, in hindsight, what could I call differently, or what could I have worked on differently there in that? I'm always looking through that lens, and it's the same exact lens I look through when those things do turn in our favor, and do turn out in our favor. And so I think that's the job of a coach, is to, especially the coordinator, is you got to go back and look and be very critical. That's really sometimes the hardest challenge is, can you be equally as critical and sift through those things when you win and as you can when you lose?
Right.
And I think Coach B does a great job of steering us in that direction to make us always have balance in that regard. And so, this life in our conference, it's life on our schedule. We know going into the game, it's gonna be a 4-quarter game. It's gonna be a lot of these are 1-possession games, and those critical calls and those critical moments of execution are going to swing you one way or the other. And to your point, unfortunately, we didn't get it done on our end the other day with a lead to get the field flipped one last time, or go get another field goal one last time to, change the field position. And so you always are looking through that to say, man, I wish I'd have done this in this moment, or man, what if we could have done this? And so certainly, to answer your question, it's a balance of all those things. There is no one thing you can put your finger on to say, man, it's this situation we've come up short, and this situation we do well. We need to work on this situation better. It's each one unfolds differently, each game unfolds differently, and that's why Coach is always preaching a situational football and awareness to our team, is because that's what breathes life into you, win or lose. That's where it's at, is those situations. And so I would fully expect this week to be the same thing, and we have to be spot on for us to get the 6th victory.
What jumps out at you about the Northwestern defense?
Oh shoot, I'm really impressive with the way they play playing with a great deal of confidence and effort and tenacity. Very, very, very multiple in the back end. I think their scheme is outstanding, and I think they're going to be, obviously, it's going to be a great challenge for us on Saturday to play them. But I know one that we're looking forward to, and that we're going to work forward to putting our best foot together to have a great game plan to give our team the best chance to go win offensively.
Coach Luke Altmaier is going to be here beyond this week. How much of that goes into your thinking to think about that much going into Saturday and beyond?
Well, I mean, we're always thinking through the lens of, all the players that aren't playing their last game here, roster retention and development, whether it's a guy that's a 2 or 3, a guy that hasn't played on the field, been on the field one time this year. We are coaches constantly addressing our players through that lens, individual meetings with our coaches. A lot of us all met with, guys that hadn't traveled this past week, just to connect with them, to make sure they understand how important they are to the development of our football program. And so obviously Luke's no different in that regard, but as the backup quarterback, the value that he's brought, the experience that he's gained this year has been incredibly invaluable for him. And we absolutely know and feel for sure that he can play winning football. He's done it. He's shown us he can. And so we're really excited about Luke. And if that opportunity is Saturday, it'll be Saturday. If not, he'll be ready when that opportunity comes to him.
Barry, as somebody who's been in that interim head coach role, is there an appreciation in the field for what Ron has kind of done this year at Northwestern, even though he's had a full year?
Yeah, you have to certainly tip your hat to him, and and the staff, to be able to go in a circumstance like that, to keep his team together and the way they're playing, and obviously getting them to the bowl eligible. He's done a fantastic job coaching. Their whole staff has, and it's a well-coached team, and they've always been a well-coached team. I mean, that's what they've thrived on, and I think for him to step in there and to keep that going and to keep the players, I think says a great deal about him. So I think you've got two teams that culturally have a lot of belief and that are well coached, and will be a great battle Saturday.
Barry, obviously Reggie produced when he played and played a lot of snaps, but not having another guy, not having Caden, how difficult is that for the running backs and just an offense? Yeah,
I mean, again, it's been, obviously you guys are usually about a week behind on what we know is going on, just because of the way it goes. And so, we're never really surprised by, how the situations or the games unfold. But, again, it's been a very unique year. I know coaches address that, like the number of guys that have been affected, and then a guy comes back and he's healthy, then he goes back to being injured. It's just been a revolving door. And the one thing that stayed constant, no matter who we put out there, has really risen to the occasion for us. Yeah, we're incredibly thin there, but like I said earlier about Nick and full confidence in Nick to be able to execute the plan. Reggie did a great job stepping up. I think that's a great testament to what Thad's been able to do with those guys and coach them systematically. And so, but we got to be able to run the football, and this will be a great challenge. We got to run the football, and obviously we're going to give the ball to Reggie and let him run. I thought he ran great the other day. He ran hard, ran competitive. His touchdown run was phenomenal. A phenomenal effort by the line and him. And so, feel as good as you can feel about it, despite the circumstance. It's been a rough year for those, forget us, think about those individual young men. That's not easy, to work year around and get part of your season taken away from an injury, or right when you hit your stride, you get a season-ending injury. And so you've had multiple guys be affected that way, and your heart goes out to them, and the other guys on our team, that gets lost in the shuffle a lot of times. It's just like, we have to move on as an organization. You have to. That's the harsh reality of it. But in college, when a kid loses a year because of an injury, that's tough. And we've had several of those that have faced that, and our team keeps fighting through that adversity.
Given those injuries, how much, if at all, can you use like a short passing game as an extension of the run game to try to mitigate what you're lacking back?
I think some. I think you have to shift your mindset a little bit. And of course, it depends each week who you're playing and whatnot. But that's been something that we tried to shift a little bit more towards a little bit, getting the ball out of our hand a little bit quicker, a little bit more space, create a little bit more room, not as much congestion for our backs. And so that's you're always looking to figure how can I. That's even the package that we have with Isaiah going in at tailback. Like how can we mitigate some of the reps that our backs are having to carry. So we're always thinking through the lens on how creatively, or from a creative standpoint, how you can help that.
All good?